I will mute everybody, and then if you could unmute yourself, Maria.
Yeah, will do.
We won't get people interrupting you then. Okay.
Right, can you hear me still?
Yeah, I can hear you. Yeah, I can hear you. You can hear me, yeah?
Yeah, absolutely.
Okay, right. We'll just have a run through first then, and then we'll go through them. And we just need a first, second and third. No need to score them, yeah?
Okay, that's cool. Lovely. Can I hold back?
Yeah, hold back, yeah. Right. Okay, can you see that?
Yep.
Right, we'll have a quick run through them. Let's just make sure I'm doing it right. I haven't done this since last February, I've forgotten.
Peter?
Yeah.
Was that the thing in the middle keeps saying this meeting is being recorded? Can't we get rid of that?
Yeah, just click it. You should be able to click it. It's not on mine. Yeah?
Okay, yeah.
It was all right. Is it gone? Okay. Right. Are you ready with that?
I am indeed.
Okie doke.
Well, I think this is a lovely way to start this evening's competition. And certainly when we talk about shapes and patterns, the Acer is a beautiful, beautiful thing to look at. Not only does it give us such pleasure in the garden, but when the autumn comes, before it loses all its leaves, we have this mass of golds and reds and copper colours that we can really, really enjoy. What you've done here, though, is you've isolated this particular stem, and I really like that because it allows me to really, really look at those textures, see the form and the shape of the leaves, and there's no distractions around. I think you might have used some off-camera lighting to get this particular effect, and I think that's worked very, very well. You've shown me a skill, and it's something that pleases me very much. So we'll start with a holdback, please. Gosh, yes, an architect's dream, but a camera judge's nightmare. I looked at this and I really struggled to decipher what it was. Obviously, it's part of a building, but I wanted to know more. It intrigued me. And first of all, when I looked at it, I thought it might have been the boat up in London. That I wonder whether it was the boat over in Bristol. It's neither of those, though, because I can see the shape through the glass is completely different. So you've got me flummoxed completely. However, I look at your photography and I think you've done that very, very well. The conversion to black and white is just allowing me to enjoy all those lovely shapes there and the structures that we've got. It's a very, very graphic image and very nicely processed indeed. But gosh, I so wish that I knew what it was. So you'll have to tell me when at the end or when we have a break. Thank you. Yes, and certainly I think you've titled this very, very aptly. I love the fact that we've got all these lovely warm golds and rich inviting colours here, and it's all to do with honey. And not only that, it's displayed in this super piece of I suppose shelving, I guess you'd call it, to allow us to kind of, you know, really sort of like feel in the moment with it, really sort of like get that honey feeling. Unfortunately, though, for me, that the image itself, the quality isn't quite there. I feel it's just perhaps a little bit out of focus, and it's not quite as sharp as it could have been. Perhaps, you know, if you get the opportunity to try this one again, just getting your lens flat onto that shelf, because at the moment it looks like you're a little bit off to one side because your verticals are slightly converging. That might help, or even stretching it out in Photoshop if you know how to do that. But an interesting piece of photography, and it certainly meets the brief tonight. Thank you. Yeah, I looked at this and I was so pleased to see this kind of photography coming up in a camera club competition. As I'm sure some of you know, I live in the New Forest, and every day I'm out on the forest walking the dogs, and I always stop and look at the fallen logs and the fallen trees and the branches on the ground. And looking at this, it makes me feel like home. And certainly what you've done here with your photography is you've actually positioned and you've cropped this photograph to make something of it. What we've got is a beautiful sweep going through it, and a tiny bit at the bottom as well, just echoing those lovely warm colours. And it has a very serene feel. It has a very I guess a very peaceful feeling about it, and it just allows us to enjoy the textures that you've managed to capture there. If this were my image, and this sounds a bit nitpicky and I really apologise for that, you've got a little bit of vegetation up in the top left hand corner. I'd maybe get rid of that because that did catch my eye and did pull me away. However, I do really like it. I think it absolutely meets the brief. You've got some super textures and some super detail in it. So we'll see this one again, please. Yeah, Boats, bricks, baskets and bowls. That's again very aptly titled. And what I do like is I really love the flower pots going along the top of this wall. I like the repetitive theme that this image has got going through it. Plus I love the fact as well that we got some very, very limited colours, all very warm and very soft, gentle hues, really broken up by that almost verdigris colour. And not only is that on the pots, we've also got some rope and a little bit of rope on the front of the boat as well, which harmonises very, very nicely. For me, I think that, you know, you've done very, very well with this one. However, I am a little distracted by the windows at the top. I want to look at what's going on in there. I want to see perhaps just a little bit more of what's going on. But again, I think it certainly does meet the brief, and it has been very nicely taken because everything is sharp that should be sharp. And there is nothing overly bright or overly dark. So well done for your camera skills. Thank you. Well, this the first thing that struck me about this is well done for giving us a different perspective on something. I really, really like the fact that perhaps, you know, you've used a wide angle lens, but you haven't just made it about the steps, you've actually made it about the paving. And what that's done is it's given us really strong lead-in lines to take us into your image. And it also gives us a feeling of depth as well. So I think that has been very well seen and nicely done as well. I do find, for me, I would perhaps have hung around a bit. I might have just waited until somebody was walking up or down those stairs just to break it up a bit and to give it a little bit of life. But again, it has been very nicely done, and everything is drawing us into the middle, everything is drawing us to those stairs, but I want something for my eye to sit on those stairs. So a great effort, and again, it does meet the brief, so thank you again for sharing. Yeah, when this image first came up and I had a little look through, I looked at it and I thought, oh, this looks more like a holiday image. But then I paused and kind of like just allowed my eyes to wander around this beautiful scene here. And I thought, actually, yes, you have got some repetitive shapes because you've got the three umbrellas in the foreground, but you've got that shape repeating in the mountains in the background. And also by limiting the colours that you've got in it, that has worked really, really well. The points of the mountains almost reflect the shape of the points of the umbrellas. So I think that's been quite well seen. For me, though, I do feel this image perhaps lacks a little bit of quality. Maybe the horizon is a weeny bit sloping down to the actually it's the other side that we're looking at, isn't it? So down to the left hand side. So I think perhaps just a little adjustment in Photoshop would bring some strength out in this image. But what I do in particular, because I love that little cloud just coming in, because we've got a really strong diagonal from the cloud down to the bottom umbrella. So nicely seen, but thank you. I'm not going to hold this one back. Yeah, when this image came through initially, I wondered whether it was the Sydney Opera House, and I think that perhaps it is. I could be completely wrong here, but I think perhaps it is. And yes, the repetitive shapes of those beautiful pointed arches do work superbly in any piece of photography. And I like the fact as well that you've just cropped it right in and taken away any distractions of any of the other structures around it. For me, the image is perhaps just again a little lacking in quality, and I wonder whether this might be a cropped in image of something that was a much larger photograph originally. And again, I also feel tweak on the contrast might improve it as well, because it does look just a weeny bit flat on my screen. But a good effort, yes, it ticks the box, great shapes in there. And I think by cropping in quite tightly to that, you've really made the most of that particular structure. Thank you. Well, that certainly is a colourful bubble. And I'm going to share a cheeky secret with you now. Whenever I get a camera club competition to look at, I always let my husband have a quick peep at them as well before me. And he looked at this one and he laughed and he said, yep, you've definitely got some shapes in there. So indeed, we've got... Is that you choking, Peter?
Yeah,
Sorry about
sorry.
that.
I was laughing.
Jolly good. What I do like about this is we've got this huddle of people and they're all interacting, they're all having a chat about something, they're all focused into their little group. And we, as the photographer and the viewer, are completely, you know, we just don't exist to them. So I kind of like that. But we've got some really, really interesting textures here. We've got that lovely braided hair on the right-hand side. We've got that super knitted cardigan as well, sort of like on the third on the right. And, you know, we've got, again, these other people on the left-hand side. They're wearing fabric that's got lots of texture in it, lots of wrinkles and maybe no iron for a while, but that doesn't really matter. So I think what you've got here is you have achieved a great textured image. However, I do feel that perhaps for this competition, it's not quite meeting the brief as strongly as some of the other ones tonight. But I do appreciate it. I think it's a great fun image and I love the slice of life. Thank you. Yeah, I saw this and I wondered perhaps whether it was in some, perhaps somewhere near the sea. It has that kind of feeling for me about it. It has that feeling of perhaps a docklands being reused and repurposed and now accommodation and shops and stuff like that being there. And I liked that. But again, what I do love is your perspective. You've got down really, really low, and these tracks in the paving, because you've got down so low, the light is really, really working beautifully on them, and it really does act as a X marks the spot for the image, so we can really enjoy that. And again, I think as well, because you've got such a low perspective on this one, it allows our eye as well to lead through that image. It follows those tracks and it leads off into the distance. The distance is not sort of like sharply in focus. That doesn't matter to me. It just indicates there's a bit of life and something else going on. But for me, it's all about those tracks and all about walking down that pavement and perhaps wondering what the history of this place was as well. So I really do like this one. So it's a hold back as well for me. When I first
Sorry, you disappeared then. You froze.
Oh, did I? Sorry,
Yeah.
sorry. Right. Okay. So what I was saying is I do really, really enjoy the dry stone walling here, and it evoked memories for me. When I first saw it, I wondered whether it was Ireland because of all the green in it, but I thought, no, Ireland hasn't got that much stone in it. It's got to be Yorkshire or somewhere like that. So again, that brought back nice memories and nice feelings for me. I think with this particular one, perhaps a little bit of processing of your sky just to bring out a bit more texture and a bit more detail would really make this very, very strong indeed. But in tonight's competition, I do feel that some of the other images meet the brief a bit better than this particular one, but that doesn't take away the fact that I really appreciate it and I think it's a beautiful piece of work. Thank you. Now, I'm hoping you'll have to forgive me. My ignorance of crustaceans and sea creatures and things is not as good as it should be, but these to me look as though they could be barnacles. I do really like about that is we've got so many shapes and sizes, and they've all got like a very defined shape, and they've all got that line going through them. So they're all kind of like pointing around the image and pointing to each other. So it's kind of like a feast for my eyes. And what I do really like is the way that you framed it. Having it as a horizontal, a landscape shaped image, I think works far better than perhaps a square crop or an upright image, a portrait style image, because what we've got is we've got a beautiful sweep of those barnacles going through the image. So again, I think it's been quite well seen, and you've used your creativity to make the most of what you've got there. Beautifully exposed, lovely, lovely textures there. And I can certainly see this particular image working very, very well as perhaps a panel of work where you've got several sort of like aspects of a seashore. But again, tonight, um, I think I would like to see it again because it is so different. I think this could be Valencia. I'm not 100% sure, but I think it is because my camera club had a trip out there, which unfortunately I didn't get to go to. However, I saw lots and lots of photographs of this place, and it certainly looks a photographer's paradise. The beautiful shapes you've got there, and that lovely water as well. Just a very gentle, soft turquoisey blue reflecting the sky as well, gives it a very soft and summery, gentle feeling. And I do really like that. And again, you know, we've got twice the amount of enjoyment here because not only have we got the structures themselves, the reflection really does add to that. In terms of what you've shown me here, again, I think perhaps the quality of this one isn't quite as good as I'd have hoped. It doesn't look quite as sharp as it should be. And for this style of photography, I would absolutely hope that you would be able to get it pin sharp. Um, if I was going to put this into competition myself, I would have perhaps taken a little bit off the top, just so the center line where the reflection falls, I would have that as you know, the whole image. I would take the top away and just have those structures filling the page. So thank you. Well, this is absolutely striking. And what immediately sort of like comes to mind with me is, my goodness me, where is that? But then sort of like pausing and thinking about it, I think that perhaps what you've done is you've very cleverly taken a photograph and you've cut it in half and you've duplicated it. But it doesn't matter because you're showing me all these wonderful textures, these wonderful shapes, and these wonderful patterns as well. I do in particular love the way that you framed it with the two darker structures on the outside that have got that gorgeous curve and that very, very strong tower in the middle. I think that's been very well done. So we'll see it again, please. It's nice when we can put together almost a collage of some of the things that we've seen, and it certainly for me the whole thing together really does give me a sense of place. It makes me feel like perhaps you're in a market in far more sunnier places than we are at the moment. Certainly with all those sun hats there, it makes me feel like it certainly is perhaps a far more tropical climate than here. And seeing all the certainly the carpet at the top makes me feel like it could be South Europe or maybe even North Africa. And again, the textures of the what looks like basket weaving, and again a mat down the bottom gives me that feeling. So well done for making me sort of like feel a sense of place. And certainly you have indeed met the brief as well. You've got lots and lots of patterns, lots and lots of textures there, but I feel that perhaps you've maybe gone a little bit too far. There is a lot to look at and nothing that really my eye settles on and stays with. So I'm not going to be holding this one back, but well done for trying something different. Well, the naughty teenage girl in me, when I saw this, I thought, well, that's an interesting image. And I looked a little bit closer at the shadows, and I'm afraid I started sniggering. You can tell me how childish I am, and indeed I often am, but there's certainly a message being given by the shape those hands are creating. However, it's something very different that you've shown us here. We've got an art installation that's hanging, but the main sort of interest that you're showing me here are the shadows that it's casting, which is really, really interesting. For me, I feel that the image would perhaps be a little bit stronger if you allowed a bit more space at the bottom, just so that finger wasn't quite touching the bottom, and also take a little bit off the sides as well, just to focus us in right on the shadows, because I think that is quite an interesting image. So thank you for sharing it, and thank you for making me snigger like a teenager again. I think this is an incredibly well seen piece of work. I looked at it and I immediately was struck by the hard, sharp lines of the mask behind it, the human-made structure, and the trees then just flowing in and breaking it all up, and making something very, very different, and almost forcing us to contrast the hard, harsh shapes of what we've put in there with the beautiful sweeps and swirls that the branches and the twigs are making here. So I think that's a really very well seen piece of work. I love it that it's just offset, and we've got this strong branch on the right hand side holding us in, and it's interesting. You've titled it really well as well, so I'd like to see it again, please. Yeah, I did wonder what this was, and I'm so pleased that you've actually told me it's a tree trunk. And looking at it now, I can see it, and I don't know why I didn't see it before. But again, this striking colour is the first thing that really sort of like reaches out and punches me on the nose, if you like. But we've got these lovely, lovely lateral lines going across it with bags and bags of texture. But then we've got this one tiny little swirl of bark coming down. And I think that really, really does make this image work for me. And I definitely enjoy the colours. And I think you've shown us something that is basically created from nothing. You've used your creativity, and I think you've done that very, very nicely. So can we see this one again, please? Well, this is beautifully photographed, and looking at the detail in the petals, I think that has been very, very nicely done. And again, it looks to me as though perhaps you've used some off-camera lighting, or maybe you've used natural light, but by putting it all against a dark background here, you're isolating the subject and you're allowing us to enjoy the textures and the shape that this beautiful plant is making. I did wonder whether it should be perhaps rotated 90 degrees to the anti-clockwise direction, and so it was hanging down as opposed to coming in from one side. I do find that just a little distracting because I look at that beautiful bloom and I follow the lines along and then I kind of go off the page a bit. So it doesn't kind of hold me as much as I wanted to. And by rotating it, I think it might actually sort of like stop my eye. The darks around would stop my eye here. But you've got some great textures, as I say, and it has been beautifully photographed. But I think tonight there are some images that hold me in just that little bit more than this one. But well done for it though, because it's a nice piece of photography. Okay, we have another one of the Opera House, but from a very, very different perspective. And what you're showing us here, I'm not sure whether they're the roof tiles or the side cladding of the building, but it doesn't really matter because we're looking at those textures and we're looking at those patterns. I like the fact that we've got that turquoise streak going through it. That gives like a little bit of relief to our eyes, away from like the plain grey tiles. But we've got just enough of the structure to kind of really get a feeling about what it is. So well done for doing that. And again, your photography, I think you've done very well. It's nicely sharp where it needs to be. Nothing is overly burnt out, nothing is overly dark. And I can see that the lighting conditions were quite hard because you've got some very strong shadows there. But again, tonight, you've got some tough competition. So unfortunately, I'm not going to hold this one back. But again, thanks for sharing it with us. Well, I have to say that immediately I loved this one. I love those swirling lines coming in, and we've got the same repeated in the distance, but we've got a slightly different perspective on it. We can see how far away it is, but what we've got is a really strong diagonal going through it. That gives your image background a backbone, and we've got some super lighting coming in as well from the right hand side. So I love this. It's so simple but incredibly effective, and those shapes and textures have really done you proud tonight. So it's an easy hold back for me, please. Well, this reminds me of one of those pictures that you often see in quiz books, that they kind of make your eyes go a little bit sort of whizzy, I suppose. We can see sort of like movement going around there where there isn't any, and that's quite interesting. That's a really interesting effect that you've achieved there. And again, it's another really simple shot. We've got that lovely bright part of the not the flower, the leaf, bang on the third. So you've thought about your composition really carefully, and we've got all these lovely strong lines going right in. If I were being super picky, I'd say you need to get yourself a ladybird and train it to sit somewhere, but that doesn't matter. I think it's a very nicely done piece of work, and I'd like to see that one again, please, as well. Yeah, I love the red arrows, and it always gives me huge amounts of pleasure when I see them, or for that matter, any other aerial display team like them. And what you've got here is you've got that super curve coming in, and the way the way the light is coming in on the smoke trails, it really gives it dimension, and it really makes it feel very, I suppose. I'm trying to think of the word now. It makes it feel almost as though that smoke trail is solid, but we can see how soft and gentle it is. We can see that we could almost pass our hand through that. It's so sort of like soft on the left-hand side. And I love the fact you've got some light coming in and just touching those red arrows there. So I think this image, for me, has an awful lot going for it. We've got a lovely shape. We've got the patterns of the smoke trails, we've got the patterns of the planes all lined up, and we've got that lovely texture. And again, the sky has worked beautifully for you too. So can I see this one again as well, please? Yeah, that's very, very interesting. And it looks to me as though you could be stood underneath a pylon. And I wonder, it immediately asked that question. I wonder if you took a fluorescent light bulb with you, if you stood under it, that it would light up, because that was one of the myths that I grew up with as a teenager. And I've never tried it out, but that's by the by. We've got some really, really strong structure in this image. And I think, again, that has absolutely ticked the box for this particular competition. And the way you've cropped it as well has worked really superbly. Everything is like echoed, the shapes are echoed as we go into the center, and everything pulls us into the center. For me, though, I feel that perhaps your photography is not quite as good as it perhaps could be. That the parts of the structure that are closest to us, right on the four corners, aren't quite as sharp as I'd hope them to be. And I also wonder whether converting this one to black and white might have just made it excuse me, might have just made it that little bit stronger. So thank you for sharing it. And do please tell me, if you had a light bulb in your pocket at the same time, whether it lit up. And is it all right if we have a break?
Yeah, of course it is. Yeah.
Cool.
Okay.
I'm just getting over a cold, so I'm still got a bit of a tickle in my throat. So
Okay.
is
Fine.
that okay?
Yeah. What should we have? 10 minutes?
Yeah, that'd be perfect.
Back at 10 to 8. Yeah. Give chance everybody to get themselves a drink. Lovely.
Perfect.
Thanks, Maria.
You're around then, Peter.
Yeah.
Half of us are still here and it's all deathly silence. We can talk if you unmute yourself. You're muted, Roy. You're still muted, Roy, if you were saying something. Spacebar, I think, if it's Windows. No, still muted. I can't lip read, I'm not that good. Okay, you're looking amused.
Yes, I'm enjoying this. I really like pattern pictures, and I think what we're looking at is better to me than our ordinary club competition. Just a personal view, but I really like it. I mean, it's a bit bird-light, so the people who like to take birds are losing out a bit. But otherwise, I mean, I think it looks, these pictures look great. I love them.
Good. Wow, who said that? Sounds like Mickey Mouse is in here somewhere.
So a good evening, I think.
Good. Well, you're responsible. It's your choice, wasn't it?
Yeah.
I haven't got any birds in, so well, nobody's got birds in. I don't think I've been.
No, you could get patterns with birds, though, couldn't you?
Yeah, you could.
They could get a murmuration. It would look good. Have you ever taken a picture of a murmuration?
No, I've never found one.
Ah,
Not like that. I've got something with a lot of seagulls, but it's not quite the same, is it? They're not the shapes.
no.
I got one crazy, right inland as well, 10 miles from the sea, and you know when the ants come out and fly.
Yeah.
And all the seagulls come inland, and the sky was absolutely covered in seagulls. It was crazy.
You've all gone quiet now. I'm back.
Most people are muted. Yeah.
And they don't know how to unmute, I think.
Oh,
Well, Roy doesn't. Come on, Roy, you can figure it out. I'm sure Roy's lips were moving. If you're on Windows, press the space bar. And if not, bottom left-hand corner of the Zoom screen will wiggle the mouse around and the mute.
He's on a Mac.
Oh, God.
Oh, no hope.
I don't do Macs.
Maria, can
yes,
I ask you a question, a personal one?
yes,
Have you got any relatives called Beryl or Karen Leekblade?
yes.
Well,
Beryl's my mother-in-law. Karen is my sister-in-law.
yeah, I didn't want to say that. I wasn't sure about the ages. But if you ever, when you see Beryl again, will you tell her that remember John White and his daughter Julie? They used to be great friends of hers. Yeah, of Karen, her daughter.
Oh,
Yeah.
right, okay.
Long time ago, when they lived in Maybush.
Yeah. Well, I'm married to Martin, and unfortunately, Beryl has passed away, and also
Oh, is she?
and also Peter, my father-in-law's passed away as well now.
Oh dear.
But Karen is alive and well, and she's a grandma now.
Is she?
So,
Well, my daughter Julie's a grandmother as well. So there you are. Yeah.
I will definitely pass that on. She'll be delighted to hear.
Okay. Thank you very much.
No worries.
Okay.
Maria,
Yeah.
I may have missed this, but which camera club are you from?
Well, I'm a member of Lymington Camera Club, but in my time, I've been a member of Southampton and Winchester as well.
Oh, right. Okay.
But Lymington is my home club. I live in Lyndhurst and we don't have a camera club there. New Forest would have been my closest, but all my friends went to Lymington, so I went there as well.
Okay. And do they do anything like this?
In terms of a themed competition,
Yes.
yes, we do. This year's themed competition, we got 2 set subjects. One is glow, so anything that glows or your interpretation of glow. And the other one is, I think, abandoned. So lots of scope there, and yeah, we're looking forward to it. We haven't had either one yet. They're coming up. So I've got to put my thinking cap on. But yes, we do 2 themed competitions a year.
And how are the themes picked?
Oh,
So who chose abandoned, for example?
well, we all, as a club, we can all put suggestions in. And at the end of the day, it's normally the competition secretary that picks what she fancies.
Right.
So she fancied those 2 subjects this year.
So not at all democratic then.
No, but we all get to throw an idea in, and it keeps us guessing as well. So
yeah, for this one, we decided that the winner chooses the theme the next year. So Keith chose this mainly because he had lots of photos that fitted the brief. But it got the rest of us thinking.
I wanted to choose infrared because I'm the only one in the club with an infrared camera, but nobody would allow me.
Yeah, I'm not sure you would have got away with that one.
No, you could have tried.
I was going to say, Keith, in the New Forest, at the AGM, they have a vote, and all the members decide whoever votes for the most. That's the one that's selected.
Right, and you also have a theme competition there.
Oh yes, yes. Yeah, there's an annual New Forest one. It's always the New Forest. The subject is the New Forest, and then what? Is it 3 or 4 trophy that they select a subject for? I think it's
something like that. 3, is it? I think it's 3 or 4 trophies. Yeah.
Yeah, and they're always the.
The only reason we've steered clear of it a bit in the past was because not a lot of people entered. If it was a theme that something they didn't normally do, but we always have, obviously, Malc's trophy's going to have a theme, and we do the Len Ferguson in December, but that's always people or persons. But the rest are pretty much open normally.
The other club I'm in decided that having a theme sort of restricted the entries and didn't give them much fodder for the SCPF league.
Yeah.
So now they've taken to having a theme for prints or PDIs each month, and no theme for whichever the other one is. So they've got some themes coming up. The first one was harbours, one colour, through the door, in the street, movie title, lines and textures like this one, and the great outdoors. The themes coming up. So.
Oh, right.
On your set.
Okay. Right. We'll make a start again.
Lovely. I'm armed with strepsils and water.
Oh, right. Okay. if you've unmuted, could you just mute yourself again?
Yeah, just to say that I've got back again because I was locked out.
Oh, were you? Oh, okay. You back in?
Yeah.
It did have a bit of a blip. It said on my screen that there was a intermittent fault on the line, and Maria froze for a bit, but it seemed to clear. So let's hope it keeps going. It should do. Right. So
I think that was just you, Peter. Maria was okay with me.
Yes, I think it was me. Yeah, come up on my screen. Okay. Right. Let me just get back to where we were. Sorry. We've done that one.
We've done that one, yeah.
So there we go. Number 25, Python Watch.
Crikey. And yes, this when I saw this, it made me kind of not quite step back from my screen, but it made me think, oh my goodness me, that snake looks like it's absolutely enormous. And having it on a reflected surface as well really does kind of like double the impact of this particular creature. But at the same time, it also allows it to blend in a little bit with the background that is its own body, really. So although we've got twice the impact of it, it's just brought down a little bit. It's taken the snakiness, if there's such a word, away from this a little bit because of the reflection. So I think that's quite a clever piece of photography. And looking closely at it, I think what you've done here, you've lit it beautifully. And again, you've given such good three-dimensional quality by your use of light as well. And everything about it is absolutely pin sharp. So very, very well done for doing that. I am going to hold it back. I've probably held back quite a lot, but I do feel that they merit it, and I would like to see them all again at the end. And I think we can all enjoy them too. So I'll hold back, please. Okay, Rathmines Harbour. I'm not entirely sure where that might be. It looks like it's going to be somewhere a lot nicer and a lot sunnier than what we're enjoying at the moment, although today was particularly beautiful. What I like about this is we've got this super sweep of the harbour wall here, and we've got a nice perspective as well on those buildings, because they all sort of like point down and they harmonize the line of the umbrellas that you've got there, and that building on the right hand side allows our eye to stop. It's a great shame, I feel, that when we see this type of image, that if there's any rubbish that's floating around, that's not been dealt with. And I can see that we've got in the bottom right hand corner what looks like a bit of a floating bottle or a floating container of some kind. And I think that's a great shame, really, because it is quite bright and it does tend to pull my eye away from it. But perhaps using the clone stamp tool or the patch tool is very good for this kind of thing, would maybe improve your image. Thank you. Well, this is a really, really clever idea. I think we might have seen something very similar before, but with this particular one, it really does kind of like almost punch you on the nose with how you've processed it. But what I really do like, I love this kind of like this double perspective, because my eye goes from one of the lifeboat stations to the other, and then it travels along that bridge and back to the first one, then it goes into the water and then goes back to the other lifeboat station, and it goes back. So my eye is continuously going round and round that, and I think that really is quite clever. And again, what you've got here is you've got some super lighting on the columns that are actually supporting that walkway. And for me, that really does make this very, very three-dimensional. And I particularly like the fact that you've got huge drama in the sky as well. If this were my image, when I was taking the photograph, I might want to maybe see what it looked like if I'd used perhaps a slower shutter speed to make that water a little bit smoother, just so the structures could really, really sing proud and stand right out from them. But I think you've got a super sky, you've got great imagination. Do be careful that you don't get haloing. There's a little bit of haloing around both structures at the ends. That's really easily sorted out in Photoshop, but I really like it anyway. I think this is a great piece of work, so I'll see it again, please. Yeah, and definitely you have absolutely got a selection of shapes, and from the cathedral spires on the left hand side to the pleasure wheel on the right hand side, you know, there's something here that our eye can really, really enjoy, and we can really sort of like appreciate the difference in all of these particular structures. And of course their shapes. We've got the spikiness on the right, the roundness on the spikiness on the left, sorry, and the roundness on the right. So that is very, very interesting, and combining them together is quite unusual, because what I find that I'm doing is I find that I'm looking for some harmony between them. And unfortunately I can't see that there's any harmony. Perhaps converting them all to black and white would have worked, or perhaps having a similar theme in colour, or in fact maybe making them the same shape might have worked a little bit better in this circumstance. But looking at the individual photographs, I think you look like you've done them, you've taken them very well, and certainly the one in the middle is very, very striking indeed. So thank you. Well, I often talk about making something from nothing, and looking at this particular image, to me, you have done that. You've made something from nothing. But my goodness, what a strong image this is. Really, really strong shadows that have worked beautifully to highlight the bars going across on here, and such a simple thing, but so effective. Again, I you know, I can't praise you enough for making your own photographs here and finding something really that's just, I think it's a heated towel rail. I'm not 100% sure. I think it's a heated towel rail in a bathroom. That's what it feels like to me. But you've made something from nothing. And I think that's very, very nicely seen. Yep, I'd like to see it again, please. Yeah, I was really intrigued when I saw this, because I do love, hearing about what happened in World War II, and certainly this time of year, it's very, very poignant for it's November, it's the time that we always remember. And I looked at this and I hadn't seen it before, so it intrigued me and I wanted to know a little bit more about it. Certainly the writing at the bottom is French, so I'm guessing it may be somewhere on the French coast, perhaps one of the beaches at the D-Day landings. Such a striking sky as well, and I think that was worked beautifully. The light coming through the cutouts in the structure has absolutely done you a favour here. However, I feel that the shadow falling across the bottom for me just takes a little bit of that away, and I wonder whether maybe stepping a bit closer and having a lower perspective, you could have got something really, really dramatic looking up through those cutouts at that sky, because that sky is lovely. Thank you. Very different again. And when we talk about tonight's competition, the subject being shapes and textures, I think what you've done here is you've shown us something very, very different, and you've really thought about the theme as well, because not only have we got some beautiful textures in the plant that you're showing us, you've put it into a cube, so we've also got that shape and that structure as well. It is very different, but for me tonight, I feel that there are some images that just kind of meet the brief a little bit better than this one, but super interesting shot, and I love the way that your imagination has worked. Thank you. I'm just going to get a throat sweet, so bear with me 1 second, and I'm sorry if I crunch. Well, this is very, very different, a very, very different take on autumn. We're used to seeing lots and lots of leaves flying around here, there and everywhere, but these leaves look like they're still attached to the plant. And the way that you've coloured it as well, the way that you've shown it to us is also very, very different. You've taken out the reds and you've taken out the golds. So we're just left with those blues and a few bits of green as well. So that is very, very, very different, and actually quite bold of you as well. So I love people that are brave and do something like this. I look around this and I do very much love the patterns that the leaves are making, because the way that it's been shown, we can see all the veining in the leaves, we can see that the structure of these, we can see the serrated edges. So I enjoy that very much. But I feel that tonight it's perhaps just not quite there in your present company, in the company of all the other images that we've got here. So I'm reluctantly going to say I'm not going to hold this one back, but I think it's a great piece of work, a good bit of imagination. Another clever piece of work, and I feel again that this might be another image that you've taken a shot and then you've mirrored it using Photoshop or Affinity or whatever you use at the moment. The thing though that I do like most about it is that little cross in the middle. It really does pull my eye in, and the way that the structure moves around and just draws our eye right to that. I think that's been very cleverly done. For me, I'd maybe like to see the outside edges just darken down a little bit, because that cross in the center, excuse me, is actually quite tiny by comparison. And I feel that the shapes of the balustrade is perhaps a little bit overwhelming, and we don't get the full benefit of our eye going straight to the middle. But again, fabulous imagination, and very well done for doing something so different. Thank you. Well, I have to say this one ticks all the boxes for me. I think you've got a fabulous structure here. It's beautifully lit. I don't know whether the upper part of the image is something, how the image actually was, or whether you've created that. But for me, the thing that really sets it off is that person running through the middle. I think that is a super piece of work, beautifully thought out, beautifully composed, and easy hold back, please. Yeah, again, I get the feeling again that perhaps the same technique has been used here, and you've called it tunnel vision. But for me, this almost looks like it looks like I'm looking up into a roof as opposed to sort of like moving into a tunnel. But certainly the shapes and the structure that you've got in this particular image is incredibly striking. We got some very, very bright patches of sunlight coming through quite close to the top. So I do find my eye is taken up there. And that's a great shame, because what I want to do is I really want to enjoy what's going on in that main triangle at the bottom. I think that the choice of processing this to black and white, again, it's taken away all the color distractions. So I think that has been ideally chosen, ideally done as well. And thank you again for sharing with us. Well, as photographers, we all love a bit of grunge, and I'm so pleased to see that you've got some here. Certainly the two images on the left-hand side are things that I would also be taking photographs of, and the frieze in Egypt as well, again, something I would be right next to you with too. And the inclusion of the fruit adds a bit of life to this one. And I love the way that you've actually lit your fruit. And in fact, when I look at this as a whole, I don't think as a single image this works well together. However, if you'd have concentrated on that fruit, because the textures on there are so good and are so nicely lit, and you've really given dimension to that fruit. If you got rid of everything else and put that fruit in, I would probably be holding it back. But unfortunately, as it's only part of your image, I'm not going to hold it back tonight. But I think you've shown really super skill in lighting those pieces of fruit, and that to me is the best part of your work. Yep, lovely, lovely vine leaves, and the colours are absolutely phenomenal. I look at this and I see what you've done here is you've very carefully arranged them on a plain background, just so we can enjoy not only the colours but also the structure of those leaves as well. And it's so nice to see that the veining shows through onto the face of the leaf, which is uppermost for our view here. However, I feel that maybe perhaps just going in on and zooming in onto one of them might make this a little bit stronger. At the moment, it looks very, very regular and almost a prescriptive setup. It doesn't have perhaps as natural a feel as I would hope it to have. And with something that's alive, I do love to have that little bit of interaction. Thank you, though. Yeah, and you know, we've all, as I said earlier, we've all seen the poppies everywhere, and certainly in Lyndhurst we've got a really nice carpet of knitted poppies, which I think really puts a different take on it, because my mum is in her 90s, bless her heart, and she knitted some poppies to go on the village installation, if you like. And what we have here is we've got a lovely theme as well. The poppies sort of like being repeated down along that balustrade there really does work very, very effectively. And a nice perspective as well. We've got, it leads off into the distance, so it gives it a great feeling of depth too. I wonder whether perhaps your image might have been improved if there was just a couple of people looking at it at the end. I'm not sure. But again, I appreciate what you've shown us here, but I don't think I'm going to hold it back tonight. Very clever title, and I like the fact that we've got a spider's web going over this particular plant, as well as it supporting another spider's web as well. And it makes me wonder whether there may be a couple of different sorts of spiders going on here. But I'm so pleased. I'm so pleased you didn't show me any spiders, because they're one of the things that I absolutely hate. I think what you've done here again, you've shown us something very, very different. You've highlighted not only the textures of the plant itself, but you've added something to it by having the spider's webs there. But for me, it's perhaps a little bit flat. I'd love it if you could maybe give that a little boost in contrast, and maybe when you're photographing something like this next time, a wider aperture is just going to help to isolate your subject from the background. So thank you. If I'm not mistaken, this is standing seam copper, and I know that because my husband is in the cladding industry and he occasionally points things out to me, and I love the fact that this has got all those lovely crisscrosses around it, but we've got those window reveals going in and kind of giving us a bit of extra depth to the image. The fact you've got it on a curve as well adds interest as well, because we've got a beautiful sweeping shape going through that. Great choice to convert it to black and white. You're allowing us to enjoy the textures, but again, for me, I think you've got some really crackers in tonight's competition, so I'm not going to hold this one back, but I do appreciate it. Thank you. Oh,
Okay, 14 held images.
gosh.
What would you like them up? Would you like them up in Lightbox?
Yes, please.
Right.
Am I allowed to give any highly commended?
Well, you can, but I don't know how to put it up on the screen, so I will mark them down and make a note, and then we can obviously, but I just can't show them up on the screen.
That's fine. Can we go down again?
Yeah, there's 2 at the bottom.
Righty ho. So I'd like my first highly commended to go to number 4, Bleached, please. I think that's a lovely piece of work. You've shown us something that's very different, and I really appreciate it.
Okie doke.
And another highly commended I'd like to give to number 17, Nature Attacks Technology. I think that's really been well seen, a very clever shot, and it's certainly one to make us think. So in 3rd place, this is quite hard because I think they're all great images. They all have outstanding merit, and I think they're all the best of, you know, tonight's competition. So if you don't get a placing, please don't be disheartened. I think they're all worthy of recognition and note. So very, very well done if your image is up here. So in third place, I would like to give to number 23, Patterns in the Sky. I think you've got great dimension in that, lovely textures in that, and if you step away from it, you can see the pattern. It's very, very good, and it's pleasing to see such a good shot. In second place, I would like to give that to number 10, Crossover. I think that's a lovely piece of work. You've got super perspective. You've shown us something different. You've made something out of what is something that is quite mundane, really, just some tracks in the pavement. And in first place,
Drum roll.
I'd like to give that to number 34, To Infinity and Beyond. Super piece of work. I can't fault it in any way. It's outstanding. Well done.
Now, which one do I show? I think that one. Okay, so there we've got it. The first is To Infinity and Beyond, which was Keith's. Second was number 10, Bob, which was Crossover. And third was 23, which was mine.
Oh, congratulations.
Thank you.
Very well done. And I'm sorry about my cough.
You're fine. You're fine. Lovely. Well done, everybody. There were some great photos there. Yet again, thank you, Maria, for doing the judging tonight. It's always a pleasure to have you back here. You've managed to pick the last year's winner, so you'll be able to choose next year's theme now. So I guess
I think
we're all investing in infrared cameras.
I was going to say, I think we're going to have infrared as the subject next year.
I think you will. Yes, definitely.
But much appreciate your comments and what you had to say, and I thought they're very constructive, and I'm sure it's going to help a lot of the members with their photography. And you've always say things that seem quite obvious when we look at the picture, but we've obviously missed them at the time. But it was really good, and I think we had some great photos, and I think you picked out a good winner. So well done, Keith.
Well done, Keith.
Well done, Keith.
thank you.
Brilliant, Keith. Nice
And
job.
Maria, thanks very much
Well done, Keith.
for tonight. I'm sure everybody love to give you a round of applause because it's been great.
Yeah.
And Gary should tell you where that photograph was. I assume it's Gary's.
Well, no, it's mine actually.
Oh, where is it?
It's,
Oh, you went there as well, did you?
Yeah,
Oh,
I went
okay.
there. When Gary nipped off to go and get himself arrested by taking photos of the kids in the swimming pool, I stayed. I took that. That was taken from the cafe in the Mountbatten Centre in Portsmouth.
Oh, wow.
So Terry took some photos from it outside earlier in the year. So we went down and had a look around, myself and Gary, and went in, had a cup of coffee, and yeah, I was just looking out through the window at the roof of the building, really.
Really interesting.
Yeah, it's quite an interesting building. You could see that they put a lot of thought into designing it. It's the what is it? It's got swimming pool. It's the local, what is it?
Leisure centre.
Leisure centre. That's it.
Leisure
Leisure centre. Oh dear.
I was
Yeah. So
gonna say,
go on,
Maria,
Gary.
I was just going to say the radiator was
Yes.
the outside of the Ordnance Survey building. It's got
Right.
So
It looked like a heated towel rail to me.
When you said that, it did.
Yeah.
Yeah.
they have bloody big towels there, do they? Wasn't there something else you had?
Yeah, the
Yeah.
one Maria was mine was the Shape of War. You know, with the memorial.
Yeah.
That's in Granville, down
Oh,
in
right,
on the
okay.
French in Normandy. Yeah, and it's a memorial to the resistance fighters, World War II.
Wow.
distance. So yeah, it's a great place to visit.
Oh,
It's the-
thank
And I'll
it's
try
the-
my light bulb under the pylon as well. I got told that as well when I was young.
Did you? Well, I'm glad
Yeah.
it was a figment of my
And
imagination.
your hair stands up on end as well.
Oh, does it?
If you've got any.
Oh, fabulous. Thank you.
Thanks, Maria. Great.
Lovely. Well, thanks, Maria. We're just going to go through a couple of housekeeping items. So
That's fine. Well, I'll
You
say
can
good
s-
night.
yeah, thanks again. Really
Thank you,
appreciate
Maria.
that.
Thanks.
Thank you
Thanks
so
so much.
much. Take care. Bye.
See you next month.
Yeah. Bye.
Bye. Okay, hope you all enjoyed that. Thought there was some good, very
Yeah, well done,
constructive.
everyone. Brilliant.
Give us all a little something to think about, didn't it? I think she got the first place right. Pains me to say.
Sorry
When
about
when I saw it when I was loading them up, I thought, shall I put that one in or not? Shall I give us all a chance? But no, well done, Keith. Well deserved.
Thank you.
That's about it for tonight. Just to say that I haven't heard that the hall's open again yet. They did say at least 2 weeks, so this is the second week. So we did talk about going out to do the Christmas market in Southampton, didn't we? So shall we provisionally say for next Tuesday we'll do that? But I think we'll wait till the weekend because of the weather.
Yeah, it's gonna be cold next week.
Yeah, well, the cold's all right, Bob, isn't it? It's just don't want it raining.
Yeah.
So if I wait till the weekend, and I'll let everybody know, make a decision on Sunday when we've got a better idea, because you know what the forecast like, it's none too accurate. And at the moment it says it's probably going to be raining next Tuesday. It's light rain, but we won't want to go out if it's raining. If we don't, we'll have a Zoom meeting, I would have thought, because it doesn't sound like we'll be back in the hall. But if we are, then we'll go back to the hall. Okay, but I'll let everybody know.
And have you sorted anything out about the dinner date?
Well, no, we probably need to give them a ring and see if we can get it in on the 7th, don't we? I'll get in touch with them tomorrow.
You sure?
Hey, yeah, we can do it when we're out. I'll give them a ring before I come up to you, Gary.
Okay.
Or I'll do it lunchtime. You get these phones you can take with you now.
Oh, have you?
I don't know if you've seen one, Gary. Look,
Something new.
you can take that with you. You take the lead out
Oh, right.
of the bottom and it walks with you. Right. Okay. Anybody got anything? Just any comments about tonight?
That was good.
Yeah.
That's good. Yeah.
And there was,
I enjoyed it, not just because I won, but because I like to see pattern pictures, and I thought it really showed the skills of the club. Actually, there are a lot of things here that never appear in a camera club competition and are excellent images. They really are.
yeah.
There were lots that I loved there.
Yes. Yeah. Yeah. Likewise, there was some really good. A lot of thought had gone into it. Like John's with the lifeboats. It was really good. Well done, John. Like that. You're muted, John.
Yeah, I said thank you very much.
No, it was really good. It was very good.
And Maria kept referring to things that were different and
Yes.
things that were original. And I thought it was a very creative evening. You know, a lot of new things were seen. It was a credit to the club, actually.
Yeah. 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 It's great.
Good. Yeah.
I did send out a link to the newer members today about the affinity being on offer. I mean, that, just so that you're aware, in case you're not, that affinity is really an exact copy of Photoshop, and there's nothing on Photoshop that you want that you wouldn't get on affinity for your photography. Yeah, just if you're thinking of getting something so that you can process your images. And like I say, I sent a link to Keith's introduction he did about a year ago, I think it was now, that covers how to use affinity, and I've referred to it. I use affinity a little bit.
I think I'd offer to the new members that if they look at that video and they want a bit more help, I'm happy to do a one-to-one Zoom with them on it. I'd be quite happy.
Yeah, that'd be good. We could always do that. Do it another night.
Because
from
it
the
does take a
Tuesday.
bit. Does take a bit of learning, but it's a very cheap way into photo editing, really.
Yeah, yeah. It's what is it? £33, I think, at the moment, and that's it. It's a one-off payment, and you get updates, and they're free. So you're not, you're not going to get a piece of software that needs replacing every couple of years.
And on that point, Peter, I've got Photoshop, Lightroom, and Affinity. My Mac is now 10 years old, and I can't get the latest Lightroom and Photoshop updates because they say my operating system isn't supported anymore. So I'm basically paying, full Adobe price for about 4 or 5 versions ago, because I can't update it. Yeah, Affinity supports, still supporting it, no problem.
Yeah.
So, I've got it in mind to boot Adobe out of the window.
Yeah. I think what's in the back of you find in the back of a lot of people's minds, they think Photoshop is like, what's it, roughly 10 quid a month, and you can buy Affinity now for £33, and you think, well, it can't be any good, but it's as good as Photoshop all day long.
Yeah.
I mean, Photoshop. Go on, Terry.
I've always said it's about 80% of Photoshop.
Yeah, yeah. I mean, the thing is,
there's some things in Photoshop, but they're not things you actually need.
No. I was going to say
and
Photoshop.
The annoying. So I was going to say the annoying thing with Photoshop is if you stop paying 10 quid a month, you can't use it anymore. That's it.
Yeah. Yeah. True. Yeah. I was just going to say. I mean, Photoshop is a professional piece of kit, and there's lots of things on there that none of us ever use. But Affinity, it will be more than ample for what you want for doing your photos. Okay. Anybody else got anything?
I was just interested, Keith, in your image. Was that it's a one-piece image, Keith, or how did you pull that one together? Give us a few pointers.
Again, there is no such building. It is a building that's created in Affinity, really, from an existing building. So Affinity has a very powerful mirror filter, and it's a very clever bit of kit because you can alter the number of mirrors, you can alter where you place the mirror as its starting position in the photo, and you can alter the angle of the mirrors. And from that, you can create an almost infinite number of patterns. Most of them are very abstract and I guess not that useful, but every so often you hit upon amazing patterns. Obviously I worked quite hard on it to edit it in black and white, but Affinity came to the rescue, really. There's no such building.
And Maria really liked the chap running in it. Was that you running, Keith?
No. And I must admit, I popped that person in.
Yeah.
They were running in the common. I think the original building that was used was in New York, but it doesn't look like that at all.
So what you're actually saying is it's a total fabrication.
Yeah.
Yes.
Who needs Photoshop?
It certainly worked.
Oh yeah.
What, Keith?
Imagination, though, isn't it?
It's a right trophy for you to win, because Malcolm was very much a creative photographer. He took basic photographs, and most of what he did was created from the photographs, but with many things added in. So it fits very well.
Yeah,
very talented.
Yeah, I was going to say that he would. I think it wouldn't be wrong to say he'd be very impressed with tonight's entries.
Yeah,
and he wasn't very easily impressed with most of our stuff because he was so far ahead of us. But I think he'd have loved that, and it's fitting that you won it with what you did.
Thank you. I'm proud to have stood in his shoes in some small.
Yeah, great. I mean, it might be like the World Cup, the original World Cup. If you win it 3 times, you get to keep it. I will get the names put on there. I'll get the names done, and then I'll let you have that.
Okay.
Okay. Anybody got anything else?
People theme next, isn't it?
Huh? Yeah.
Them?
It'll be on almost definitely the 14th of December. It'll be the Len Ferguson Trophy, which is PDI again, and the theme is people, persons. So it's got to have a person. The main subject of the picture must be a human being. Yeah, is that right?
Yeah.
Cool.
Because we did have a conversation one year about this that dragged on a bit, whether it should be more than one person or should only be one person. But it's just got to be the main subject has got to be a human. Is that right, Colin?
That seems like pedantic Kerry.
Yes. We can see you in the dark there, Kerry.
Me?
Yeah, you.
No, don't be me.
Okay. Right, I think that's it then. That's all I've got for tonight. Like I say, I'll let you know the weekend what we're doing next Tuesday, but we'll obviously, as soon as I know about the hall or the weather, we can decide what we're doing, yeah? But we'll put something together. Can Gary and Dave Murphy hang on, because I need to have a word. Yeah?
Yeah. Everybody.
All right, John. Okay.
Yes,
thanks. See everybody next week
Thanks,
in one form or
everyone.
another.
Night all. Thanks for the subject, Keith.
See you later.
Hi, Jim Bob.